Okay, so let me present my screen. Everyone is here, right? Um, is Brian around? Brian, did you inform the two outstanding student? They are here.
Yes, Miss, we are here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So let's start to discuss our tutorial 6. Okay, so tutorial 6 is kind of like a bit similar questions with the tutorial 5. It's about the connection between the domain and the range, and then how we can actually use the domain to retrieve the range, how to use the range to retrieve the domain, and also additionally we are going to deal with how to delete uh, record based on the given domain. Okay, so let's see the question. So question 1, consider a specification for a phone directory which relates people to their phone numbers. So we have two basic type, which is person, the set of all possible person in the system, and then phone, which is the set of all possible phone numbers in the system. Okay, so given to you the state space schema called directory. Okay, so we have directory which is showing the connection between the person and phone number with a binary relation. So it's showing the many to many connection. Okay, so let's start with the question. So question A, write an initial state called initial directory where initially the directory is empty. So once we have the state space schema, so the next thing should be the initial state. Okay. Okay. So the schema name will be initial directory. Is it too small? Let me know. Okay. So we have the state space schema, which is the directory. Okay, and then we have only one variable. The directory dir will be equal to empty set. Okay, so this should be the initial directory. Okay, the next question, write an operation state called add entry to add name and number to the directory. So here we have been given with the two different input, and by using the two different input we want to add a new entry. It means the name and the number must come together. Okay, so the schema is, okay, so the schema name is add entry. So it's going to cause changes to the record. So we will use the delta directory. So we have two input. One is the name, which is present the person, and one is number, which is present the phone. Please always careful when you are using the Z editor, it will automatically give the capital. Okay, so once we have the two input, we want to check if this name, this number is already exists or not. Because if we want to add a new entry, it must not exist. Okay, so this name maplet, this number must not be exist, must not be element of the directory. So when it's not exist, then we can add into the directory. So to add, we will use the union. So we add the entire connection where the name, maplet, the number. That's it for the add entry. Okay, got it? So that should be the initial state schema, and then the first operation, add entry. So the next question, write an operation state called remove entry that remove an entry from the directory. Okay, so this is going to be opposite of the add entry just now, where we want to delete the record. Okay, so schema name here is remove entry. So the same thing, it's going to cause changes to our directory. So we use the delta. Then the same thing, we have two input, name which is presenting the person, and then number which is presenting the phone. Okay, so now when we want to remove the entry, then this particular name and number must exist. So this name, maplet, number must be element of directory. It means the record must be exist first, then only we can do the removing part. So to remove, we just use the set difference and we remove this name, maplet, this number. That's it. Okay, so for add, we use the union. To remove, we use the set difference. Okay, so that should be two operation schema. So the next one, write an operation state called get numbers to get all the numbers associated with a name. So here the name will be input. By using the name, we want to list down all the numbers related to that particular name. Okay. Okay, let me bring the question down. Okay, so get numbers. Okay. So this one is not going to cause any changes because we just want to get as an output. We are not adding anything. We are not removing anything. Nothing happened. Okay. So we use the C directory Okay, so here to get the numbers, we are going to use the name as the input. So name will be input, and then we want to get all the numbers. So this will be output. So since we can have, because it's a many to many, right? So we assume that one person can have many numbers. So we use the power set. Okay. So after that, now we want to have checking for only one input given. Okay, so if you see just now it was two input where the name and the numbers both has given the input, but now we have only one input given, which is the name. So if you see back the connection here, the name is actually the domain. Okay, phone is the range. So now we have the domain and we want to get the range for that domain. Okay, so the first thing we want to confirm that this name must be element of the element sorry, domain directory. Okay, the name must be exist first. Then after that we can get the numbers. So here, like tutorial 5, we can use more than one method. We can use the relational image, and also we can use the domain restriction, because we have the domain and we can use the domain restriction for that. Okay, so first we can use the relational image. Okay, so this is relational image, or you choose either one. No need to put all in the answer later. Or you can use the domain restriction. So here we have the directory, here we have the name. Okay, so we have the domain and we want to get the range for this domain. Okay, so this one is using the domain restriction. Okay, so since it's a query schema, it's not necessary to put the remain unchanged part. But if you want to put, then you can just put directory equal to directory. So it's a remain unchanged. Okay, so that is how we use the name to get all the numbers. Okay. Okay, the next one, write an operation state called get names. So now, previously we used the name to get the numbers. Now we want to use the phone number to get the names. Okay. Uh, Logically, I don't think we will have multiple names, right? But since the connection given here is binary relation, it means many to many. So we assume that we can get multiple names for the same number. Okay, so let's put the schema. Okay, so the schema name get names. So just opposite of it. So the same thing, it's going to be query schema. There will be no changes. So directory. Then here The number will be the input, okay, for the phone, and the names will be the output. So the same thing, we use the power set person. Okay. Okay, so now the first thing is we want to check if this number is element of range directory. Okay, just now the name was domain, the number is the range. Okay, so the same thing for us to get the name. Okay, so we will use the opposite of it. So here we will use the inverse relational image and we will use the range restriction. So we will use the inverse first. So we use this, and then we have this, then we have the number. Okay, so same thing, but only the difference is this symbol, the inverse symbol. Sorry, relational inverse. Okay, or we will use the range restriction. So range restriction means we use this symbol. Okay, so directory, and here will be the number. So we want to get the domain for this range. Okay, so this one we use the range restriction. So the same thing, if you want to show the remain unchanged part, which is not compulsory, if you want to show, then directly put the directory equal to directory. It's remain unchanged. Okay, so it's just the opposite. This one is using the name, which is the domain. This one is using the number, which is the range. So we can use the relational image domain restriction, or here we use the relational inverse, or we use the range restriction, either one. Okay, got it? Can see the difference? Any question? Can? Okay, so let's move to the next question. Oh, okay. So that should be our question one. So let me show back. So this is the initial state, and then this is the add entry to add a new record. This is the remove entry to remove a record. This is to get the numbers. It means we use the domain to get the range, and this one we use the range to get the number. Sorry, to get the domain. Okay, so that should be our question one. So let's move to question two. Let people be the set of all possible person. So we have one basic type people, and then we have subject be the set of all possible subjects. So we have two basic types here. Okay, so we have the state space schema, which is university. Okay, so we have three variables here, which is the students, Okay, the power set of people, and then we have subject, which is the power set of subject, and then we have enrollments, which is the connection between the people and the subject. Okay, then we have the domain enrollment, which is these people, subset of these people, and then range enrollment, which is this subject, subset of this subject. Okay, so referring to the given state space schema for the university above, write the Z schema for the following operation. Okay, so the first one, an operation schema called new student. Okay, so this new student is such that a person, so we have one input P, becomes a student. So it means we want to add this student become a new student. Okay, so let's add the schema. Okay, so what was the schema just now? University. Okay, so when we are adding a new student, so of course it's going to cause changes to the record. So we use Delta University. Then we have the input for the people. Okay, only one input. Okay, so we want to check these people. I mean, this input must not be exist in the students. Student means coming from here, this one. So it's not exist in the registered student yet, so that we can add the student. Okay, so if you see this student, I mean this person want to become a student, so we don't have anything to do about enrollment all yet, nothing, just to register as a student first. So we just check the student, I mean the person must not be element of the student is enough. Okay, then we can add the student. So students equal to student union this input. Okay, so it's only causing the changes to the student, there is nothing happen to the subject. So since it's an operation schema which is using the delta, you must list down each of the variable even though there is no changes happen. It's a must, because when we use delta it is showing that there is a variable will change. So we need to clearly list down which variable will change and which variable will remain unchanged. So it's a compulsory things. Okay, okay, so that should be adding the new student. Okay, the next one, an operation schema called student leave, such that a person P not enroll in any subject. So it means the student has been registered, but the student did not enroll to any subject yet. Okay, and we want to cease to be a student. So it means we want to delete the student. Okay. Okay, so it's going to cause changes because we will remove the record. So we use Delta University. So we have the same person input. Okay, so now for us to remove the student, we have to make sure that this student exists first. So must be element of the students. And they say that this student not enrolled to any subject. So it means we need to confirm that this student is not element of this connection just now. Must not be part of this domain. Okay, so this student is not element of domain enrollment. Okay, so after that we want to remove the student. So as usual we will use the set difference to remove the student. Okay, so there is no changes happen on the subject. We just remove the student, so nothing happen on the subjects, and also nothing happen on the enrollments part. Okay, so since it's a delta, so you must show which one change, which one remain unchanged. Okay, got it? Okay, so the next one, an operation schema called student withdraw, such that a person P is already enrolled in any subject cease to be student. So this is going to be a bit different, where the student, I mean the person is a registered student, but the person is already enrolled to a subject. So it means they must be part of the enrollment. Okay, so the schema name is student withdraw. Okay, so the same thing, there will be changes happen, so we use delta. Okay, so the input still the same, the paper. Okay, so now this person element must be element of the student, and also this person must be element of domain enrollment. Okay, so now when the person is part of the domain enrollment, we need to make sure that we remove the student from the enrollment, then we will delete or we will remove from the student. Okay, so if you see here, enrollment is having a connection between the people and the subject. So we want to delete by using the people. So it means we want to use the domain to delete the record. So for delete the record, we will use domain subtraction. Okay. Not restriction, subtraction. Okay, so we have the domain, so we use the domain subtraction to remove or to remove the student from the enrollment. So once done with that, then we will remove the person from the student. So as usual, we use the set difference. Is there any changes happen to the subject? Because the student withdraw, is it going to cause any changes to the subject? Is it going to have any changes on the subject? Is it going to remove the subject also? No, no changes on the subject. Since we use the delta, we need to indicate that the subjects remain unchanged. Okay, got it. So that should be student withdraw. So the first one, student leave without having any enrollment. So when the student is not element of the domain enrollment, nothing happen on the enrollment part. But even the student is already element of the domain enrollment, so we need to delete the student from the enrollment before we can delete from the students. Okay, can I? Okay, the next one, an operation schema called registered subject, okay, which output the set of subjects. So we want to display the subjects as output in which the student P is enrolled. So it means by using this input of student, we want to list all the subject which enrolled by the student. So it's something like get names, get numbers just now. Okay, so the schema name here is registered subjects. Okay, so we just want to do a query schema. We just want to display out. So there will be no changes happen. So we use the C. So the input will be, careful when using editor, it's automatically changed to capital. Okay, then we have the subject. So we might have multiple, so we use the power set of subject. Okay, okay. So now the first thing is we need to make sure that this person is element of students. Okay, then this person must be element of domain enrollment for us to get the list of subject. Okay, so now we have the domain, we want to get the range. Okay, so this subject, we can use the relational image or we can use the domain restriction like just now. Okay, so we use the relational image first. Okay, so this is using relational image, or we can use the domain restriction. Okay, So we want to get the range for this domain. So we want to get all the subjects for this particular person. Okay, so this one is using the domain restriction. Okay, so since it's a query schema, if you don't want to list down all the variables, it's okay. If you want to show, then you can just put all remain unchanged. Okay, since it's a query schema, it's not compulsory. If you want to put also okay, if you don't want to put also no issue. But when it comes to delta, the operation schema which cause the changes to happen, then it's compulsory to list down all. Okay, so that is to get the registered subject for a particular student. Okay, then the next question is opposite of it. So here we have the schema called enroll students, which output the set of students. So here we want to use the subject as the input. Okay, just now subject was output, right? So here subject is input, and we want to get all the students who enroll to that subject. Okay, so it's just opposite of it. Okay, so the same thing, no changes. So we use the C, university. So here subject will be the input, and then we have students, which will be the power set of what was it just now? Sorry, people. Okay, so now we need to check if this student, okay, sorry, if this subject is element of the subject first, then this subject must be element of the range enrollment. Okay, then after that we can list the students. So here we have the range, we want to get the domain. Just now we have the domain, we want to get the range. So when we have a domain, we can use a relational image or domain restriction. If we have a range, then we can use the relational inverse or the range restriction. Okay, so let's use the inverse first. So all the same, but except we use this one and then we have this symbol. Okay, so we put the input inside. So this one is relational inverse. Or we can use the students, we can get the students by using the range restriction. Okay, so we have the range, so we want to get the domain. So this one is range restriction. That's it. Okay, so the same thing, since it's a query schema, if you want to show the remain unchanged part, so you can include. If you don't want to show, it's okay, no problem. Okay, I think that's it for the tutorial 6. Okay, everyone got the answer? Any question? All okay? Any answer which you didn't get yet? Everyone got the answers? Okay, so that should be our question 2, which is to have the new student, to add a new student, to remove the student who is not part of the enrollment, to remove the student who is part of the enrollment, and then this is to list all the subjects based on the student input, and this one to list all the student based on the subject input. Okay, so that's it for our tutorial 6. Any question? Kenna? Okay. So that's it what I wanted to discuss. So we have completed our tutorial 6. So we will see again on our Wednesday replacement. Okay, so hopefully we can go through the assignment progress online without much issue. But let's see. Okay, so if there is no question, then we can end the session here. So thank you very much, guys.